What a ridiculous game. We covered this live on the Instant Reaction Show. The Rams 26, Seahawks 20. Overtime win for the Rams. Again, they're 4-4, Seahawks 4-5. Walk-off touchdown. Matthew Stafford to Demarcus Robinson with the one-handed catch. His second touchdown of the game. 39 yards for the win. Let's work backwards in this one.
Okay.
A little. Seattle, so we're in overtime. It's 20-20. Of course, it's tied. Seattle has the first drive. They go for it on 4th and 1 in field goal range.
Yep.
Decide to go for it. And the people are upset about this decision.
Well, remember current overtime rules.
Remember the rules.
Right.
It's not
field goal doesn't win it. Touchdown does.
Yeah.
Different than it used to be where, any score gets you the win, sudden death. You need the touchdown to end the game. The field goal simply gives them possession with a chance to win it.
So I don't have a strong feeling on this decision either way.
What was fascinating to me was, Benjamin Solak, now of ESPN, came out with a tweet, something along the lines of NGS said that this was a 14.5%, I think, gain in win probability, according to their model, if you get the 4th down conversion, right? Which is a massive number, like a huge delta that says, hard go for this. It's a massive win if you get it. It's absolutely worth doing. And Aaron Schatz, formerly of Football Outsiders, was like, interestingly, ESPN's model has it at like barely above, like it's a minor win, right? I can't remember what the number was, but it was a huge difference between the two models, right? It's like, so we're in this world where everyone's like, hard yes, hard no, like black and white, the world of black and white, go, don't go. And two of the biggest models out there are way apart on whether you should go for this or not. So this is the thing that teams are dealing with. Like every time there's a decision, like, these idiots, why are they going against the numbers? They might not be. They might just be using different numbers than you are, because we're all relying on nerd mathematicians and just trusting that their data is correct. I don't have a clue. Like I have no idea what the win percentage is on that. I'm just trusting some guy knows how to put together a model.
That's why, I don't know how every team does it, but I know at least one team who's in the perceived smart category,
right,
has probably 15 or 20 models rolled up into one, an ensemble model, if you will. And so that is, that will happen. Models factor in different things. They factor in the strength of the QB, right? They factor in the strength of the roster. Well, how do you do that? Are you using PFF grades? Are you using EPA? Are you using different metrics? So every model is going to have different inputs. I think it's a little alarming if they come out that drastically different, though, if that's the case. So the bottom line is a certain Michael Lombardi was very upset that they didn't kick the field goal.
Yes.
When just a handful of plays later, the Rams scored a touchdown.
There's no way Lombardi even understands the decisions being made, let alone, Like there's certain people.
But if you want to say, hey, the percentage, you should have kicked the field goal.
Yeah.
Fine. So do you think would that have changed how the Rams played? They needed it.
They'd kick the field goal?
If they had kicked the field goal, because the Rams won it with a touchdown,
right,
which would have won it anyway, right? That's not the decision that lost the game for the Seahawks.
Right.
It's not. There may have been other stuff in there, but that's not the decision.
But you can also contrast it with, the end of regulation, right? They have a decision, they score to almost tie it up, right? They're 1 point behind now. So you get that classic decision of, do you go for 2, try and win the game here? Now, it wouldn't have exactly won it because it was 50-something seconds left. But do you try and take the lead with this spot, or do you kick the point and play for overtime? And they elected to kick the point. Either way, they needed their defense to stop, the Rams, so not let them have a field goal so they could get to overtime. The defense does stop, and you can make the argument that, well, if the defense was going to hold anyway, if you'd gone for 2 and got it, you win the game there instead of playing for overtime. Now, obviously, the downside is if you don't get the 2 points, you lose the game immediately. But it's interesting. You contrast the decision. They decided to go for it, try and get the touchdown in overtime. They didn't try and take the lead with the 2-point thing before the end of regulation. Sort of interesting dynamics. Either way, you needed your defense to make a stop. They didn't have a choice at the end of regulation. The defense had to make a stop, otherwise they weren't winning the game, whatever. But in overtime, again, either your defense is going to need to make that stop, otherwise it doesn't matter.
So working backwards on this one, again, the Rams get the walk-off touchdown? How did we get to this point? The Seahawks, I mean, Jackson Smith-Njigba had an incredible game. The official stat line not even doing him justice. 7 catches for 180 yards and 2 scores. Also had 2 catches for 72 yards, negated by penalties. And penalties that doesn't even matter. I mean, he was open and caught these passes. So he should have had, well over 200 yards. Still ends up with 7 for 180. 2 big passes, flip the field, and Smith-Njigba catches essentially the game-tying touchdown with under a minute left to make it 20-20. That's the decision you said. Seahawks kicked the extra point. But Geno Smith threw some absolute dimes in this game.
Yeah.
Also had the 102-yard pick 6 that he threw. That's what gave the Rams the lead early in the fourth quarter. Red zone interception, one of 2 red zone interceptions for Geno Smith.
The 2 quarterbacks in this game combined for 9 big-time throws and 6 turnover-worthy plays.
I felt that. I felt that watching. I'm like, oh, this is great. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is great. This is bad. I felt that. I'm feeling that roller coaster.
Some absolutely crazy throws from both of these guys and some absolutely ridiculously terrible turnovers.
Stafford had a dropped interception, I think, toward the end of regulation that would have been bad. Like, when they had a lead, that would have been a disaster that was dropped. And the Geno Smith second interception, I know the broadcast was giving him a lot of blame, but it was a little dump off to the tight end that you have to throw. You have quick pressure. You got to throw it blind. You're assuming he's going to be there. He kind of gets held up, and it looks awful.
He doesn't kind of get held up. He gets grabbed by the defensive tackle. Like, Braden Fisk grabs hold of the tight end and holds him.
I don't want to play ref in this one, but that was a miss. They had an pass interference on Ahkello Witherspoon where the straight up legs got tangled. Right. There was like no other contact. They're classic tangled legs, don't call it, and they called it on him. I think there was a makeup call a little bit. Well, then they did the Kobe Bryant one, where Kobe Bryant absolutely levels a receiver in a play that's often called.
Kobe Durant?
Kobe Bryant's the safety for the Seahawks.
Oh, sorry.
Not Kobe with a K.
Right.
Kobe with a C.
Yeah.
I know it's messy, yeah. That's often called unnecessary roughing.
Yeah.
But as one of the Steelers beat writers, Seattle beat writers said, it was completely necessary roughing. Just enough. It was not unnecessary. It was just the right amount of roughing.
Necessary roughing.
Yes.
The lesser known.
Yeah. So there was a lot of those back and forth here.
Yeah, this was a wild game from the quarterback point of view because of all those plays. But each one of those guys was making ridiculously spectacular throws, and then ultimately Stafford made the last one.
I mean, both teams Rams win, so they're less worried about these things. But Seattle had the 2 red zone interceptions. Then they also blocked a punt in Rams territory. I mean, they just were unable to capitalize, and it looked like it was going to be this massive game of missed opportunities for Seattle. And again, they just kind of flipped the field, throwing to Jackson Smith-Njigba. What an incredible game between him and Geno. That connection between him and Geno Smith. And when we did the preview, we were theorizing, well, DK Metcalf is supposed to be back. He's the downfield threat here.
Yeah.
Smith-Njigba and Lockett have really been short and intermediate threats. But Smith-Njigba, this was like throwback to when he had 300 yards against Utah in the Rose Bowl, where he was just open and catching everything at all levels of the field.
Yeah, well, it was like by necessity. Sometimes some other teams have had this where you're only left with one option in the passing game. Let's just funnel the entire offense through that guy. Metcalf's not back. They just decided, let's just funnel the entire thing through JSN and see what happens. And it worked.
A couple other things I just wanted to highlight here. So the Rams rookies made a ton of plays. Jaden McCullough's got 4 interceptions now as a rookie. Cameron Kitchens was the one with the 102-yard pick 6, the rookie safety.
And had a second pick as well, right?
Yeah. And Jared Verse and Braden Fisk making a ton of plays in the backfield. Verse, we've talked about him. He was our Defensive Rookie of the Year pick. Braden Fisk gets in on 3 sacks. The right side of the Seattle offensive line with massive issues with Anthony Bradford and Mike Jarrell, picking up stunts. They were just playing games over those two in crunch time quite a bit, and a lot of plays made against the right side of that Seattle offensive line.
Yeah. Seattle's offensive line was struggling to contain the Rams.
Last thing, Reek Woolen. I mean, there's a couple big plays here. Before the half, Stafford throws one up to Reek Woolen. He picks it off. Seattle scores before the half to go up 13-3. That looked like a huge turning point in the game. But Reek Woolen was the one picked on. He gives up the touchdown to Demarcus Robinson, the game winner, a guy that you, at 6'4", with incredible athleticism, 6 picks a couple of years ago as a rookie. Like, you didn't throw jump balls on Riq Woolen. Interception before the half, but Stafford doesn't care. Goes back to it for the game winner. Riq Woolen's been picked on a little bit this year. People aren't afraid of him.
Yeah.
And having some success against him.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.